Hey gang, we're in Huntsville, Alabama today, right downtown Huntsville, and we are at Maple Hill Cemetery. I want to thank Chris Gordon, who gave me the lead on the story, gosh, almost 2 years ago. And it was 2 years ago when he told me about this. I said, I got to get here, and it's taken a while. It's a little bit out of the way for me, but coming back from the southeast on this trip, I definitely wanted to make a special diversion to come here to visit this special mausoleum. So thanks, Chris. I never would have known about it. And we're finally here. What's so special about this story? Well, there's a woman who is buried in her own little tomb. It's like a mausoleum, completely sealed in. And she's in her wedding dress, sitting in a rocking chair. And I'm going to tell you some interesting details that Deb, my ancestry helper, did a lot of digging on the story, some things that maybe you haven't heard, no one's heard before. Maybe we've come up with some new information here, at least that's not generally known. So let's take a walk to her tomb, and on the way, we're going to see some really interesting monuments and stones. Beautiful day here, beautiful early morning at Maple Hill. This is a nice place. You almost would think of it as some cemeteries. I say some because some are so noisy and like maybe crowded. This is a refuge. Such a good feeling to come in here this morning. So Mary Chambers Bibb was the wife of a man named William Dandridge Bibb. Now, William's father was the second governor of Alabama, I believe even at the time of this, I'll call it event. Now, Mary was only 18 years old at the time that something bad would happen. It was shortly after her marriage, and the story goes that her nanny had accidentally given her an overdose of some type of drug. Now, some say that, or many say that she was using arsenic, at the time for cosmetics to whiten their face, but that is probably not true. And, people kind of hear stuff and they just kind of go with what they read on the internet. So probably not the case, because we have found some information on this connection to a young woman in that house, another young woman. Just before she died, because she was poisoned, she was dying, she pleaded with her husband to not bury her underground. So it is said. And since she had just been married a few months prior, she wanted to be buried in her wedding dress. So her husband followed her wishes, and she was adorned in her beautiful wedding gown, it is said from Paris, France, and she was put in an expensive rocking chair, and she is basically interred in this mausoleum that was made just for her. Interesting here on the walk on the way, Huntsville Meridian. So we are at the central spot where all things are measured, or were measured. But we will move on. Interesting tombs here at Maple Hill. Now, as I was saying, we did some research with Deb. We went down the rabbit hole, and we have uncovered a different story of romance, possibly. Now, again, we don't know for sure, but we've just uncovered some information here. And it said it's handed down according to a Mrs. McAlpin, who was the grandniece of William D. Bibb, as told to her by William's granddaughter. She said, quote unquote, a short while after William Dandridge Bibb and Mary Chambers were married, a little incident of interest came to life. A little event. That one day, a little girl named Mary Mitchell was at the home of my grandfather during his time of marriage of Mary Chambers, and he had asked this little girl to do some little favor for him, casually remarking at the same time, Mary, if you will do this for me, I will make you my second wife. And sure enough, as the years went by, it is said there, in that quote, his wife died. And little Mary Mitchell grew up, and my grandfather fell in love with her, and he married her. Now, again, the timing of this seems a little off, so that may put a little hole in the story. But again, this was told. This is documented. Mary Bibb was only 18 years old when she died, so how could all those years go by, right? Only 3 months had gone by after the marriage, and Mary Mitchell was actually not a little girl. Mary Mitchell was actually 14 years old. And then you say, was she the nanny? Was she the one who gave the fatal overdose to Mary Chambers Bibb? Good chance, if this whole legend is true, because it would be very unlikely for her, Mary Chambers Bibb, to overdose on arsenic. I mean, that's very powerful stuff, but you wouldn't just be like doing that. You'd have to be poisoned, which happened a lot back then. Happened a lot, and women did most of the poisoning. Nothing against women, but those are the facts. Well, you get in the 1920s, we did some stories. That's when it was really at a height, get rid of those husbands, and they would get off. But anyway, back to Mary Chambers Bibb. We are at the mausoleum. There it is right there. Let's have a look. It looks like it's made of limestone to me, and it's in very good shape. Cornice details holding up really well. The roof has been replaced. It's in really good shape. But as you see, there are no openings whatsoever. Let's take a little look around here. Sealed, shut. It is. Looks like the foundation is giving way a little bit. It's been supplemented by rocks. Boy, what we would give to find a hole for our snake camera, huh? Imagine if you were an insect and you could go in there and have a look. Well, there's the inscriptions. Sure enough, Mary S. Bibb, wife of William D. Bibb. Get the flashlight out here. I think we can see it okay, but yeah, very large lettering. Daughter of Doc. Looks like it's Doc exclamation point. Henry Chambers. Born October 1816. Married on February 24th, 1835, and she died May 26, 1835. There it is. Boy, I've been wanting to come here, like I said, for almost 2 years to see this. Very simple mausoleum. I would call this a tomb and not a mausoleum. But just imagine if we could peer through those walls, right? Let's use our imagination. Maybe we're standing here, we have X-ray eyes. Very amazing to think about what she looks like in there. She's probably just as she was, don't you think? I just want to imagine. You have to imagine that her dress is maybe holding her mummified remains up. What little is left, just bones. The dress sitting in the chair, all tattered and dark brown, probably parts black, torn, insect infested, just sitting there, crumpled, hunched over maybe, or slung to one side. Just imagine what she looks like. It's right there. Well, we'll probably never get to see what it looks like, what she looks like. Maybe in the next century or two, well after we're all gone, somebody will open this up. Some excuse. You know, that's what they do. We've seen it with a lot of the famous people, like in England and the kings, and they find a reason to go into the crypt. Oh, we've got to go in there, and while we're in there, we'll do some scientific research. And I don't think we'll see it, but our ancestors might, our kids or their kids, if they're watching or paying attention. Someday someone's going to go in there under some excuse, maybe a family member, a great-great-great-great-grandson or granddaughter will say, I want to see. I want to do a book. I want to see her. And we need to get in there because of this, this, and this. There's a scientific reason. And the cemetery staff by that time, 100 years from now, will say, I want to see it too. They won't say that, but they'll allow it. All right, rest in peace, Mary S. Bibb.